So if you've been on diabetes TikTok for any amount of time, you're familiar with this character here. His name is Christian Drapeau, and he is a stem cell scientist. A lot of people in my comments usually ask about what I think about him and his methodology with stem cells. And initially, my knee-jerk reaction was to dismiss him as just another stem cell peddler. Because in the first videos that I saw of him, he would explain the relationship between diabetes and stem cells as people with diabetes have fewer stem cells. When we give them more stem cells, their diabetes symptoms improve. And I saw this as just perpetuating the mainstream medicine outlook on symptom management. Oh, we're missing stem cells, let's replace them, and things get better, without ever actually addressing the root cause of why there aren't stem cells there. And he's gone so far as to acknowledge that there is an initial impediment to that stem cells that is really creating the problem.
Problem is that there's an undergoing condition, an autoimmune condition. There's an ongoing process, an ongoing insult or assault to the pancreas.
And I like this because this is a level deeper than a lot of people who talk about stem cells usually go. But then he'll float something out like this.
There's a balance between losing cells and replacing cells.
So he's kind of floating in between. He's acknowledging that there is an issue with what's causing these stem cells to become depleted. But then when it comes to actually getting more stem cells, it's really just trying to outgrow what's being taken away, as opposed to just addressing what's taking them away in the first place. But I challenge all of you watching this to hear those broad strokes, right? Like there's something wrong with the gut. There's something wrong with stem cell production. We're not exactly sure, ... But here are ways that we can improve. Go back to what are the systems that could impede stem cell production? Because one thing you have to realize is that these medical professionals, however progressive and however well-intentioned they have a reputation on the line. They have businesses with profit. And it doesn't pay well to speculate or go out on a limb and suggest something and ultimately be wrong, which ironically just so happens to be one of the things necessary to find new things. So let's do an actual reality check as to why those with diabetes and other autoimmune conditions may be experiencing low endogenous stem cell production. And one of my most important methods in kind of addressing these most understated levels to these issues is taking the broad statements that we take for granted, right? Things like gut health impacts stem cell health, and just asking why. What goes on in the gut? What are the roles and responsibilities of the gut where if it didn't do that, it would lead to poor stem cell health? And if you really had to break down the two most important roles of the GI tract in the body, they would be nutrient absorption and toxin excretion, with our intestinal flora being one of the main components of how those two things get done. And if nutrient absorption and toxin removal are two of the most important things that the gut do, we also have to consider other organs that are responsible in those categories, things like the liver. So even right there, we've got the gut and the liver as two prime candidates for influencing endogenous stem cell production. Then you have to ask yourself, well, why aren't these organs doing what they're supposed to? So once we see that the liver and the gut both need to absorb nutrients and get rid of waste, we have to look at the components that are necessary for those things to do their job, as well as the main barriers that could arise that would impede their ability to do those things. And while there are a million different interwoven variables that could potentially impact those systems, there are a few that really stand out. And in my personal research, looking at each of those components and doing a detailed dive into, well, what looks the most suspicious when it comes to what's keeping these systems from working, the one thing I come across every single time without fail is iron. Because not only does both the liver and the gut have a very intimate relationship with iron balance and iron absorption, there is a laundry list of symptoms, conditions, diseases, and ailments that result from each of those organs from not being able to handle iron. And not so ironically, what's one of iron's most important roles in the body? It has to do with red cell regeneration, which happens in the bone marrow, which is where stem cells come from. So most stem cells are generated in the bone marrow. which is deeply sensitive to the oxidative stress that results from iron imbalance, specifically primary or secondary iron overload. And all of the other stem cells generated in the body are regulated by systems controlled by the liver and the gut. And the liver and the gut are both highly compromised in the state of diabetes as well. And this is so freeing because before we had three seemingly completely different systems that had issues, right? Like, well, the gut's doing something over here, the liver's doing something over here, stem cells in the bone marrow are doing something over here. What's the common denominator? With iron, we can focus on iron metabolism, and that's indirectly impacting three systems while only managing one. I even made a specific podcast talking about the mechanisms of stem cell regeneration, bone marrow production that iron overload impacts. So, iron overload, with its incredible potential for oxidative damage that specifically targets the bone marrow niche and its regenerative abilities, resulting inflammation can be tied to nutrient deficiencies in things like copper, vitamin A, zinc, B6, enzymes and proteins like ceruloplasmin and lactoferrin. Not to mention that the inflammation caused by iron overload and the resulting nutrient deficiencies directly impairs the liver and gut's ability to both absorb these nutrients and filter toxins. So when Dr. Drapeau and other people in the stem cell community talk about how we need to increase our stem cell load, it's not just about adding new stem cells. It's about removing what is impeding our body's natural ability to create its own stem cells, addressing the minerals that are helping iron do what it's supposed to do, rebalancing our body's ability to effectively recycle iron, restoring the functional and communicative potential of the gut, liver, pancreas axis. Go watch this video and find out how iron and all of the surrounding nutrient imbalances and deficiencies directly impact our bone marrow's ability to regenerate stem cells. I've also got an ebook talking about all of the deeper relationships between minerals, between lifestyle interventions that can take care of this iron recycling system.